Hey guys, it's Mike here, and in this video, I'm going to be discussing a question that many people have asked ever since the Buu saga of Dragon Ball Z. And more specifically, this takes place during the final climactic fight between Goku and Kid Buu in the third act of that saga, in which the question becomes, why didn't Goku, Vegeta, or anyone else bring Gohan and Gotenks to fight Kid Buu after they were revived by the Dragon Balls? Well, I'm going to be getting into that in depth right now. But before I begin, if you like this content, please make sure to leave a like and share it out. It really helps the channel. And if you're new here, consider subscribing and enabling notifications so you can stay up to date with all my future videos. I'm also really looking forward to seeing you guys comment your own thoughts down below about this subject and any others that you might think of. But with that being said, let's get into the video right now. So as I mentioned before, this takes place during this final fight between Goku and Kid Buu. For anyone who doesn't remember, at this point in the story, what had happened is that Goku had lost his Super Saiyan 3 form. And at this point, he was kind of at the whims of, what was going on around him, with other people helping him out in this fight against Kid Buu. Fat Buu stepped in to fight him. Vegeta at this point had tried to help Goku in order to get his energy back so that he'd be able to power up to full to defeat Kid Buu, but he wasn't able to do that. That's when Vegeta enacted his plan of using the Namekian Dragon Balls in order for them to wish back the Earth and the people on it that Kid Buu had just destroyed before. And what ended up happening then? Well, after they were brought back, Goku contemplates and speculates on the purpose of why Vegeta is doing all this, where he says right here, I know, you're gonna get Gohan and Gotenks to fight with us. Vegeta at this point says, no, start making ready for the Genki Dama, aka the Spirit Bomb. And this is all part of Vegeta's plan in order for Goku to use this iconic technique that he learned from Supreme Kai in order for him to be able to defeat Kid Buu, and all this concept that Vegeta had of letting the Earthlings save themselves for once. However, of course, the thing is that Gohan and Gotenks, with that being Goten Trunks, are Earthlings. Sure, they are half Saiyan, but nonetheless, they are still fighters from Earth. So the question is, what if Gotenks or Gohan, or even both of them, were to fight this final form, the original form of Kid Buu? Who exactly would have come out victorious? Well, let me actually break down the power of each of those fighters and what would happen if they fought Kid Buu, and ultimately why they didn't. So let's start, of course, with Gotenks. Now, we saw the power of Gotenks on display after he had gone into the hyperbolic time chamber. Now, as I discussed in the video, you can see in the top right corner where I discussed the power of Gotenks in the Buu saga. Before Gotenks went into the hyperbolic time chamber as a Super Saiyan, Goku had already implied to Fat Buu that he would be even more powerful than Goku as a Super Saiyan 3, because of course Goku had no idea that Gotenks could become a Super Saiyan 2 or even 3. He just knew the power of fusion, knew the power of the two kids, and realized that the multiplier with Super Saiyan on top of it would be able to push them to being at least as powerful as Goku as a Super Saiyan 3, and he said to Fat Buu that he'd be even stronger than him. We saw this that Gotenks got a significant power-up, as Piccolo states when he fuses together for the first time after they're in the time chamber, where Piccolo says right here, he does seem different. They've powered up hugely. This may succeed. And we don't need to go through the entire fight because I did break that down in another video you can see in the top right where I discussed what would actually happen if Gotenks and Super Buu had fought and the fight had not been interrupted. But as we saw, Super Buu in this case was still a good amount more powerful than regular Super Saiyan Gotenks. However, even with all these different techniques he uses, like the Ghost Kamikaze attack, Gotenks is not able to destroy Super Buu. This is because even though these techniques are really powerful, as you could see right here, blowing up Super Buu eventually, as you could see right now, having a ghost go right down his throat and then blowing him up again to where he's just, pieces on the ground, clumps that they then destroy, vaporize, Buu is still able to come back from smoke. You could speculate that maybe this is because Gotenks wasn't powerful enough because of that power advantage I was just discussing before that Super Buu had right now. However, nonetheless, when the fight continues to go on, eventually, after the two of them are trapped, really the three of them are trapped inside of really the four of them, if we're really breaking it down to semantics here, aren't we? The fact of the matter is they're all trapped in the time chamber, and Super Boo screams his way out. However, at this point, this is when Gotenks reveals his ultimate trump card, which is when he turns into a Super Saiyan 3, which would make himself, according to the guides, 8 times more powerful than his Super Saiyan form. At this point, he screams a hole through the dimension just like Super Boo is able to, and they begin to fight. And the two of them, well, they're going back and forth a little bit until Gotenks actually gets the advantage here when he finally gets serious during the fight. And that's at this point around now when Super Boo blasts him, Gotenks starts to blast back, and then he starts to really take it to him when he gets angry at Boo. He's punching him, he takes a blast, and he fires it right back at him. He starts to punch him back, take him down, and then what we see right here in this moment right here is the implication that perhaps when Boo is totally overwhelmed, he's not able to instantly regenerate in this case, Gotenks is charging up his super powerful Kamehameha or whatever attack he's planning to use here, and he's going to completely obliterate Boo until there's nothing left of him. Now, of course, again, this is something that we didn't see before because we only saw this happen when Gotenks was a Super Saiyan, so there's a chance when he's 8 times more powerful, he would have theoretically been able to do this. However, of course, he wasn't able to because the fight was interrupted by the fusion timer. Because as it's explained earlier on when Goten Trunks are training in the time chamber, Gotenks can only maintain his full power as a Super Saiyan 3 for 5 minutes, which is, 1/6 of the time that he'd be able to maintain his Super Saiyan and maybe hypothetically Super Saiyan 2 if he even achieved it with this form. It's weird to think that, he just went Super Saiyan and skipped Super Saiyan 2 entirely, but that's kind of the implication we seem to get in every single media that Gotenks is involved in. So the fact of the matter is that this could prove a problem depending upon the power of Kid Buu, which I'll get into soon. But let's talk about the other contestant here in this fight. If it were to be a one-on-one or, a two-on-one, depending upon what things would actually go down, which is Gohan. Now, Gohan up until this point, well, he wasn't as powerful as Buu up until he got his potential unlocked by the Elder Kai through this ritual. So basically what ended up happening was that the Elder Kai had found Gohan after he trained with the Z-Sword. Now, Gohan was weaker than Super Saiyan 2 Goku and Super Saiyan 2 Vegeta up until the time he trained with the Z-Sword. I discussed that in another video in the top right, how powerful Gohan was after that training. But nonetheless, there's a chance that he was even stronger than Goku and Vegeta as Super Saiyan 2s. And then he got his potential unlocked. And as you can see right here, when he powers up, everyone, including Goku, is utterly stunned by the insane amount of power on display. Goku's basically speechless at first until Gohan talks to him. And you can even say right here, or see right here what he says, "You're right, it is amazing. I don't believe it. You haven't changed on the outside. You're not even a Super Saiyan, but I didn't even know this was possible." So Goku is like totally shocked because the fact that Gohan here is so massively powerful, which makes sense. Goku says multiple times in this arc and then the arc before this that Gohan has more potential than him, that he's more powerful than him, and if he truly unleashes that rage within him, or in this case brings out the power in a different way, he's going to be able to not be beaten by anyone, which is going to come into play momentarily. But the fact of the matter is that that also includes Goku. And as we could see right here, Gohan is shocking Goku not because, wow, you're almost as powerful as me, son, or wow, you're as powerful as me, son. No, Gohan is a lot more powerful than Goku as a ultimate form in the manga version, at least. I'll get into the anime stuff in a minute too. And at this point, what happens? Well, Gohan, after he gets his power unlocked, he goes off to fight against Super Buu. And what then occurs? Well, Gohan powers up in front of Super Buu, who doesn't think he's going to be able to stand any chance against him, and Gohan proceeds to utterly wreck Super Boo right here and now, and is just getting the advantage of him, punching him, kicking him, doing things he knows actually won't work because, people continue to punch a regenerating villain that they know for a fact will not be killed by punches or kicks, but that's a Boo saga in a nutshell, really. Nonetheless, what keeps happening is that, Gohan keeps getting the advantage over him, and, in this case, they definitely censored this because Gohan did not call him a slowpoke. He didn't call him a Pokemon for sure in the original version. I'm sure you guys know exactly what he did call him. But nonetheless, what ends up occurring next, I'm trying not to say what happens next because you guys, I don't want you guys to die of alcohol poisoning when you keep taking shots when I say what ended up happening, or a variety of the other choices I continue making these videos off the top of my head. But nonetheless, the thing is that during this, Super Boo reveals something very important that could play into the scaling surrounding his fight against Gotenks that I talked about in that other video I referenced before. A reference to a reference. And he says, "I knew it. It was you." What? What do you mean, says Gohan. I felt a very strong power, far, far away. I don't want anything to be stronger than me. So you tried me out and I really was stronger. Well, that's too bad too. And basically the idea is that Boo actually was sensing the power of Gohan on display during his fight against Gotenks. And that during that, he actually formulated the idea during the fight, as we'll be able to see actually right about over here, where Gotenks states to him that, "Hurry up, if I lose this form, it'll take me an hour before I can beat you again." We see that Boo has this shocked expression, and he goes on to confirm exactly what I'm saying right now after he escapes after this fake self-destruction against Gohan. When he comes back, and what does he do then? He goes on to trick Gotenks into becoming his Super Saiyan 3 maximum power, and then absorbs him into his being so that he could become Bootanks, after also absorbing Piccolo to get his mind as well as Gotenks' power. And what we see here is that he actually explains this, saying right here that he began to form this plan when he first sensed Gohan's presence far from Earth, and realized that he might be stronger than Boo. So I thought I should absorb Super Gotenks. I should surely be able to retain my title regardless of who should appear. Fortunately, that brat mentioned that he had limited time, which I just showed you right here in this scene. Not wanting him to shift back the moment I absorbed him, I had to wait for the next window of opportunity. I needed to stall only an hour until the creature honored me with his reappearance. At this point, Gohan is outclassed because Boo, who was, not like many times weaker than Gohan, added the power of Gotenks that Gohan was a little bit above to his power, which then took Super Bootanks beyond the power of Gohan as his ultimate, starts to beat him down, and eventually Gohan is absorbed into Boo, and everyone gets removed from Boo when Goku and Vegeta go inside of his body. So this is where we're going to start to talk about the power of Kid Boo, the person that would be, or the being, the monster, the time immemorial creature force of nature who would be fighting against Gohan and Gotenks. After they removed the different people from within Super Boo, including the Fat Boo, what ended up happening was that he started to revert back through his previous forms. And this is where a statement occurs that a lot of people really seem to take in order to say that Kid Boo is stronger than Super Boo, which is that we see right here, Goku says, Vegeta, isn't his chi getting bigger? And we see that Boo starts to bulk up as he becomes his buff Boo, which is really Kid Boo with the power of the Southern Supreme Kai in him as well. Goku even makes a joke. Is this guy taking steroids? No, he's not. What are you talking about? He's clearly very natty, aside from all the Supreme Kais he absorbed. But anyway, Supreme Kai says at this point that he realizes what's occurring. However, Vegeta is a little bit less scared as we see things continue to occur as he reverts back to his original form, as Supreme Kai says right here. Oh no, he's turning back. And he becomes Kid Boo. At this point, Vegeta actually laughs. He's like, look at our little friend. And Goku says, yeah, we can take him. Now, they can sense the power of Kid Buu on display, so there's no reason that just looking at how small he is, they would think they could take him unless his power also went down. After all, if his power was the same or continued to increase from as he was regressing through all of his different forms, then they at no point would ever be saying this right here, that isn't his chi getting bigger, and then go on to say momentarily the statement right here of, oh yeah, we can take him, because the fact of the matter is that obviously implies to anyone reading this text right here that Kid Buu is not as powerful as the Buus we had just seen, including Super Buu. Because again, the reason why bringing up Super Buu here is also important, and why I mentioned him before when scaling Gotenks and Gohan, is because what we see right here when Goku and Vegeta are actually inside of Buu's shell, or inside of Buu's body rather, and they start to remove people from him. After they remove every single person from inside of Buu, what ends up happening is that Goku, first off, witnesses Vegeta breaking the earrings. This plays into the next statement, which is that they remove everyone from within Buu before removing the Fat Buu, and they sense his power going down. However, at this point, Goku says, wait a second, he's still stronger than either of us. He'll kill us if we go out like this. And this is referencing right here base Super Buu, which is the fusion, of course, of the evil Buu and the Fat Buu, or really Kid Buu with Fat Buu inside of his brain. So naturally, when both of them are then mocking him and saying, oh, look at our little friend, and yeah, we can take him, that obviously means that they're saying that he's weaker than the base Super Buu they were just seeing before he even absorbed the power of Gotenks, Gohan, and so on into his being, which means that the manga and even the anime, when they repeat this, are implicitly telling us that Kid Buu is weaker than base Super Buu, which is very important when it comes into the scaling here, because again, we saw that when Gohan was fighting against Super Buu right here, the same one I'm talking that is saying he is stronger than Kid Buu, he was wrecking him. It wasn't really even that much of a fight. And Gohan, if he wasn't arrogant, if he had just gone all out from the start and he had actually learned from Trunks in the previous arc, might have been able to completely obliterate and defeat Kid Buu or Super Buu right here and now. Same thing, of course, goes for Gotenks. Gotenks got the advantage over Buu at one point, and, despite the fact that, as I showed before, you can make the argument that Gotenks is actually not as powerful as Super Buu, or maybe their relative or whatever, because of the fact that he sensed Gohan's power, the fact of the matter is we still see him in this very vulnerable situation where Gotenks had completely taken over the fight here and was right about to destroy Super Buu with this blast and potentially even wipe him out completely, obliterate him, just like Gohan possibly would have been able to do. So even if we say that, Gotenks here is maybe a little bit weaker than Super Buu at his full power if he, didn't know anything about Gohan and went all out from the very beginning, or even if they're equivalent, and the same thing with Gohan here, then that would mean that both of them are still significantly more powerful than Kid Buu. Now, with that being said, in the anime version of things, it is a little bit different. As after all, not only do we see everything start off with when Goku fights against Kid Buu, he is starting the fight in his Super Saiyan 2 form, whereas in the manga, he is fighting as a Super Saiyan 3. But additionally, he also states right here about Kid Buu that he's on a whole different level from all the Buus up to now. So there's a statement where the anime is trying to say that Kid Buu is the most powerful Buu, or on a whole different level, but really when you actually look at all the in-universe evidence, this is the only real statement that kind of backs that idea up. And I know that there are some other pieces of evidence that people often like to use to try and say that Kid Buu was more powerful than Gohan and Gotenks. For example, when Goku is charging up the Spirit Bomb, what ends up happening is that we actually see all of the different fighters on Earth donating their energy to it, and even other people from the afterlife. For example, we see in the top right here, Gohan, Goten, Trunks, Piccolo, and a lot of these other fighters giving him their energy. We see this little energy ball right here. Goku says it's huge, but it's nowhere near as big as the ball on Namek, or as big as it would go on to be later on when he throws it at Kid Buu. So a lot of people say that because when he gathers this energy, and then eventually gathers it from the full amount from all of the people on Earth, and then throws it directly at Kid Buu, and the fact that this attack is able to be stopped by Kid Buu and, it doesn't immediately destroy him, in part because the fact that Goku doesn't even have the energy left within him to unleash it. The fact of the matter is that this is not the same type of energy that Goku or somebody would use in a fight. A lot of people seem to misunderstand this about the Spirit Bomb. The power that is being put into the Genki Dama is, as the name suggests, Genki. Genki is a type of energy or chi or ki that is within the body, which is good health energy. It is good energy. It is a different type of energy than, the thing that people typically blast somebody with or do this or do that. It is a very different amount or variety, rather, of the energy. So when Gohan and these other characters are giving their power, obviously this is not like their full power if it was, to fire everything in a chi blast simultaneously at Kid Buu, but rather a totally different technique that uses one aspect of chi as opposed to being the entirety of their chi or ki-based power, which is also very obvious because look at the amount of power that we see right here when Gohan and all these powered fighters who have power levels in like the billions at this point are putting their energy into this ball. And then look at how powerful and big the energy sphere becomes when a bunch of normal people without any energy donate their power to the Spirit Bomb. It becomes vastly more powerful. So obviously, using common sense, you would be able to tell immediately that this is not the same type of energy, and no way, shape, or form determines whether or not Gohan or Gotenks would be able to win. Rather, like I said before, all the evidence instead showcases that Gohan and Gotenks are more powerful than Kid Buu. However, Kid Buu does really have an extremely powerful regeneration factor. This is part of one of the reasons why many people think that Goku used the Spirit Bomb, or Vegeta told him to use the Spirit Bomb in the first place. Because during the course of the fight, no matter what attack Goku used, including this Kamehameha that we see just completely destroys Buu, he still continues to regenerate, dragging out the entire movie, or dragging out the entire fight. It's a movie for the people all watching down in hell. But the fact of the matter is that he continues to come back time and time again. Vegeta says even right here, Buu is stronger than I imagined, and so Kakarot are you. So again, he's not really saying that Buu is vastly more powerful than Goku here, as a lot of people like to speculate, or, like Toyotaro throws in the whole, he actually had God Ki inside of him, even though that's not how God Ki works, Toyotaro. Don't you understand your own manga that you're writing? The fact of the matter is that, nonetheless, there's nothing that really suggests that he's vastly more powerful than Goku. Rather, he's just having fun. He's dragging things out because he knows that he has the energy, and he could just wear Goku down with his stamina, because much like when Vegeta fought against 18 or somebody else is fighting against, an android with the infinite energy, even if their power is relative, or even if, maybe Kid Buu is a little bit weaker than Goku, or maybe even a little bit stronger than Goku if he actually tried the entire time and went all out, the fact of the matter is that he could just keep wearing him down, and Goku eventually lost this fight because of the fact that he would not be able to maintain this power or truly rev up and go all out with his living body because of the horrible stamina-related issues from Kid Buu. So, or from Super Saiyan 3. So a lot of people do like to say, or like to think, that the main reason why he used the Spirit Bomb, as I'm flashing through these panels faster than the speed of light, this is kind of how they read when they're running at 5 minutes on Namek, basically. The fact of the matter is that there's nothing also that really says that for a fact, as I discussed in another video in the top right, which is, was the Spirit Bomb required to kill Kid Buu? The fact of the matter is that this was rather, instead of being an idea of, the ultimate technique that could only kill Kid Buu because it's a good power that would immediately target the evil power within Kid Buu and all this other fan fiction stuff, or really headcanon rather, I should say, that people have said over the years. Like when Gogeta uses the Stardust Breaker against Janemba or something like that, which is probably where a lot of that idea came from. The fact of the matter is that this is actually more about the symbolic victory in Vegeta's eyes, because as he says right here, he wants the Earthlings to be able to save themselves for once, because it's always about the Saiyans and the strongest fighters defending them, but rather he wants the Earthlings to actually fight for themselves, which is seen as a very noble thing by King Kai and a lot of the other fighters and the other people there, who then use Vegeta's idea to make that Spirit Bomb and inevitably cast it at Kid Buu. However, with that being said, based upon the power of Gotenks and Gohan, I think it's pretty clear that if they were to show up and fight, things would have probably went about the same way in terms of a positive conclusion. So what actually would have happened if Gohan or Gotenks fought against Kid Buu? Well, I think it's pretty clear that either of them would have been able to defeat him. I think that Gotenks might be a little bit more difficult for him to win just because of fusion timer and let's say the possibility that maybe he wouldn't be able to obliterate Kid Buu to the point where he wouldn't come back. That means that maybe if he went Super Saiyan 3 the entire time, there's a chance that he wouldn't have been able to accomplish that. But as I showcased before, all the evidence in universe, except for like one line in the anime version, which is not what Toriyama wrote, says that Kid Buu is not as powerful as Super Buu. The same thing also when it comes to Gohan, where he's not only more powerful than Gotenks as a Super Saiyan 3, but additionally, he also doesn't have some kind of fusion timer or something, so he could just go full power the entire time, blast Kid Buu with his most powerful Kamehameha or Masenko or whatever attack he wants to over and over and over again until he just doesn't come back. Because the fact of the matter is that there's nothing that ever says that Kid Buu needed the Spirit Bomb to be obliterated. Rather, somebody like with a vastly more high level of power who could output far more destructive capabilities than anything Kid Buu could regenerate from would be able to kill him. I mean, I don't think that many people would really argue that Vegeta, if he went Super Saiyan 3, wouldn't be able to fire his final Kamehameha at Kid Buu and obliterate him completely down into nothingness. I feel like most people would probably agree that's the case, and the same thing with Gohan or Gotenks. But with this being said, this has been debated forever, so let me know your own thoughts down below in the comments. Like I said, if you're new here, consider subscribing, enabling notifications, stay up to date with all my future videos, and stick around, because there's a lot more to come in the future.
Yeah, and you better subscribe.